We'll start tonight. Yeah, sure. Yes. So, can we have one? Yeah, sure. You leave? Sure. Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Sure. Thank you for the messages. Thank you. Yeah. Someone asked me a shaila 2 weeks ago. Really, I was waiting to deal with the shaila, but Lapoil, he needed the answer, the Maisa. So I'm reserving the rights to come back to the shaila. I'm looking. So the person shaila was he bought. I don't remember. It's not like I gave the detail, but he bought something online. Let's say he bought a plan how to speak Spanish, and the deal is you're not allowed to share it with anyone. Lepoili decided he's not learning Spanish. He's good with Yiddish. It's fine. So, but the shaila is his friend does want to learn Spanish, and he paid for it already. Can he give it to his friend? That's what he wanted to know. So I'm looking at the different articles and Sforim that's written on the cutest sefer that's written on the subject. Every book is all rights reserved in Hebrew. It says Kol Tzchuyot Shmurot. In Kol Tzchuyot Shmurot, name of a book. All rights are not reserved. There was a big pushback in contemporary poskim. If at the beginning there was a lot of poskim that felt that it shouldn't be chas v'sholom, that that it's the Wild West, that in halacha you can do whatever you want, you can copy anything you want. Um, but there is a little bit of a pushback, and some poskim, Okay, so I want to just give a very very broad overview of a little bit of what's at stake. So the Rishonim, you're not going to find anything in the Rishonim about intellectual property and preserving intellectual property. So it was something that wasn't shaykh. I mean, once things started to be printed, so once the printing shop came into vogue, that's when the shaila started. So the earliest shailas that Chuvas about this is the Shaila Meishiv, so there's Tshuva, Beis Yitzchak. Shaila Meishiv is the Rav of Lvov, who lived 250 years ago. That's when the shaila started. There was a famous machloikis that Alter Rebbe was involved in with the printing of a shas. Okay, let's just like this. There are Gedolei Yisrael who felt that intellectual property is very serious, and if you infringe someone's intellectual property, you over this gezel is a mazik. There was some that my children watch sometimes these Yiddish videos, and they all love to be in the beginning to bring to have a copy of the tshuva of the Moshe Feinstein or the Chaim Kel Dalet, where he writes that a person that has a tape, a matik tape, shaloi b'reshus isa gezel. Everyone loves to put it in the first thing. Copy of this tshuva of Moshe. Other places he wrote it's isa mazik. And there are taka shaylas tshuvas before the Moshe. Like there's a famous tshuva, the Shoel Moshe, that he writes. There was a noida shirab Avram Havrush shehimtziat amtsoa beglal ze kibel kol yom of skar ma'ashiltem bevarsha lo yeh toida shlema shlonu kesicha betela shalahem. So Dar Gedolei Yisrael, who said that intellectual property is serious, and if you infringe on that, you're over and Issa Gezer is a mazik. Many Gedolei Yisrael said they don't begin to understand. The most we have a machlokes in the Gemara about din garmei. A person takes shtorish shel chaveiroi and he burns shtorish shel chaveiroi. So shaila, if you're chayiv to pay for the hezek, but the side of shtorish shel chaveiroi, you took a piece of paper and you took a match and you gave a scratch and you turned it from a paper into afer, the offer. Um, so even though shibud is something not tangible, it's a spiritual thing, it's a conceptual thing, but the paper you actually burnt the piece of paper. Mashenkin, when you're infringing on someone's intellectual property, you're not. What do you mean? I'm being mazik biyadayim. What do you mean? I'm being goyne v'goizel. What am I taking? Show me. Where is it? It's not my pawn. So that's emestaka. We find in the ila the kol marach berech ein ben mishum but there's still isura ika. But you could say, look, hekdesh is special dinim, and the Chazal said it's also because of the isur of hekdesh. That doesn't mean that you can learn from here to intellectual property. So anyway, that's the one sheet. So the one sheet, and oh, by the way, this is something that always, every year when I learn Tanya and I come to the Askama, I always think to myself, why didn't the Alter Rebbe, why couldn't it be so smart and say, and stick on intellectual property and forever belongs to me? Oh, Gazach. Maybe they don't want it. All right, you could argue all kinds of arguments. But every year I'm like thinking, the Pzusha Vanipoli says that we're making a Xedis Nocher sort of for 5 years because we don't want to be going to Mekilkel to the Matfis, the original printer. So we're giving him a right that for 5 years he could sell the Tanya and no one is allowed to reprint this book. After 5 years, you do whatever you want. I understand. The Alter Rebbe can't learn it. Why couldn't the Alter Rebbe put a sticker in here? Call us Chuyas Shmudis, intellectual property. It belongs to me and my hearers. La'adolol me'alomim. Which, by the way, the belonging to the hearers is mamish something really difficult. Mishpit in Siman Reisha and Vov, that Amos says at the end, Eina Yerush and Dvorim Shein Ben Mamish B'Tevis Hanoah. Intellectual property. There's nothing more Ein Ben Mamish than intellectual property. But the Alter Rebbe didn't do so. So Taka, someone mentioned this for, and like I said, every year, maybe the Alter Rebbe wanted the Tanya to be in the public domain. He didn't want to reserve the rights. He wanted, futza meinasech chutza. The Baal Shem Tov said that he asked Mashiach, Emasei imar, when are you coming? And he said, futza meinasech chutza, when your wellsprings will be spread out. Elamai, the Alter Rebbe started to write up the Tanya, and went out, Batokas Shoinus and Mishunois. Is like the Alter Rebbe's Lashon, and the Chassidim said, what does it mean? Atokas Shoinus and Mishunois. Shoinus means naturally when people copy from each other, there could be mistakes. And Mishunas is that there were mistagdim that had people dafka quoting rewriting the Tanya and selling it for cheaper because they were adding and subtracting some line. So that's why the Alter Rebbe writes. That's why he decided to print it. So Chatili wasn't even thinking of printing it. So that Hayos the Alter Rebbe wanted that it should go out to Futzim and Chutza. Okay, but still, I know it's interesting that the Askomas, the Tanya, many Skomas. There was a famous brouhaha around the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. The Baal Kitzur Shulchan Aruch felt that he has intellectual rights on his sefer, and beyond they printed it. It was such a hot sefer, such a hot sefer that they reprinted it without his permission. And he was Tzavech Kekruchya. There's the Adayoim, there's the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch that's printed with like 2 commentaries in the bottom. So, and he hated it. And after he passed away, Gedolei Yisrael that gave Askama to this print. At Adayoim, there's a reprint of that print. Mizgeres HaShulchan and some other. And they said, yeah, Taka, we know. And if Shlomo Gansfried said that he has a right. And Taka, if Shlomo Gansfried said he doesn't like these Meforshim on him, too bad. Too bad. Too bad. And Adayoim, people are buying this. I have a copy of this, with the Mizgeres HaShulchan on the bottom. And it turns out that the Baal Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, Lishita Soy, that this is Geneva, Uxela, and you're not allowed to keep a copy of it in your house. So the fact is that we see from many Askamas, and forget the Torah, you could say, in Torah you could argue 2 ways. Say that Torah has to be Bechinam, so Torah is less than other issues intellectual property. And the opposite, you could argue that Torah, you want Torah to last forever and ever. And if you're not gonna make takonos to protect authors of Sforim, then you're never gonna have such Sforim. Like there's certain Sforim I'll see in the bookshelf and I'll buy it, even though today you can get it on the Oitzach Chochma, you can get it online. But if this author is not going to sell a few hundred or a few thousand copies, he's not going to, and he's writing good stuff. But you can get it anyway. But do you want this author to go out and later print the second book and a third book and a fourth book? So buy this book. And there's another nakuda that today that's happening more and more is that there are very good books. They're not that popular that they're getting uploaded, and then they go out of circulation much quicker than they used to, and the market. It's not like it used to be that Big Elizen is going to get it for you. It's like whatever. It's get it online. So I'm just saying, Agav sometimes you see a good book on the shelf. Now I'm not talking about a popular book that they're going to resell. A storybook that's a hit and it's going to be reprinted. So it's kedai to buy. Anyway, bottom line is one shita says it's many poskim that say it's gizei lamazik. Many disagree. Then there's another shita, which is that it's masik vul. Is a very strict thing. And it doesn't have to be like even with the rules of Asagas Gvul. We once spoke about it about a year ago. I gave a shir be'iyun about Yoredel Teichum Nasu Shachaveda. So, this is a strong argument. When someone, if someone, he came up with an invention, and if everyone's going to copy it without giving him any rights, it's Yoredel Teichum Nasu Shachaveda. That's the second argument. The third argument that many posts can bring, the second argument you could find many. I'll type up the page a little better and I'll upload it at the end of the week when I send out the email. And the third argument, which many Gedolei Yisrael make, is Dina de Malchusa Dina. Dina de Malchusa Dina. Dina de Malchusa Dina, in a way, is slam dunk. Is the best. Dina de Malchusa Dina. In the way is the weakest. That is the law of the land. And the Gemara says, Dina de Malchus Dina, that the country has the power to levy taxes, for example, and you're not allowed to steal. And if the king says that you have to pay this amount of taxes and you cheat on your taxes, you're a gazlan. So Dina de Malchus Dina is very strong. The problem with Dina de Malchus Dina is, well, a few things. Number one, it has to be Dina de Malchusa. There is limitations, even to intellectual property, there is limitations. So if it's Dina de Malchusa, whatever it is, Dina de Malchus, and you can't add to it or subtract. The other thing is Dina de Malchusa has limitations. For example, there is a famous Chazon Ish that everyone likes to look at, and that he holds in Eretz Yisrael, no such thing as Dina de Malchusa Dina. Eretz Yisrael is Dina Torah. Which thing is Dina de Malchusa Dina? Dina de Malchusa. Eretz Yisrael is Dina Torah. So anything that so b'meila, any laws that are protecting Lamazon intellectual rights by the Israeli government, by the court system, invalid according to the Chazon Ish. So Dina de Malchusa,
but that would be also a shkapa issue.
Dina Malchusa could be, even according to.
That may be a shkapa issue.
Let's argue another time.
But I'm saying that may come into the equation.
I doubt there's anyone that wants to argue this. Right. I don't think anyone thinks any differently on the Chazon Ish on this.
Okay.
Maybe people think other things. All right. Very nice thoughts, but
I agree.
So I want to talk about the fourth nekuda, which is the I agree. So one more nekuda about the drawback in Dina de Malchusa. I'm sorry, not a drawback, a boon for Dina de Malchusa. Within Dina de Malchusa, I'm not mamish Dina de Malchusa, but there is something, because Dina de Malchusa has a lot of drawbacks. They can't be unfair. So if you're going to decide, you're going to say, look, I want to show you that these laws are unfair. They they make that the oil tycoons, they're going to make a killing of money. And me, the little guy in the Shell station filling up, I'm in a disadvantage. If the Melech's dinim are not shava, well, everything falls apart. There's another few things that you could argue about Dina de Malchusa. So, but there is, and to counterbalance that, there is a thing of there's a thing of a baker's guild. There is the Bali Umnias make the Bali Umnias say that whoever has a sfina and their sfina is going to break, we're all going to chip in to buy him a new sfina. Right? If he goes to a place where it's dangerous and and everyone knows that over there, so then you're part for supplying him a new sfina. So that's another thing. For example, when we talk about taxes, because once you start talking about Din Malchus, do they have a right to give income taxes? Because the Ran and the Dorim Daf Ches says that it's only a right on land. It can only give you property taxes, not personal income tax. Din Malchus could get. There's a lot of holes in Din Malchus. But if you talk about that, there is that the Bakers Guild said. They said that we know it's like a hesket, that we all made an agreement that if one of the bakeries are going to burn down, we're all going to chip in. It's mechayev, and they all have to chip in. So we're living in New York, and you need to have the sanitation that's going to take away the garbage cans three times a week, and we need the streets should be cleaner. We need police should walk around and guard the streets from Inchi de Lomaili. So who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for it? So the Anshayir are making a tax in order for the government to have money to pay for the services we need. So the same thing here. That's Matzatikun Medina. In order for the business, every country wants that their businesses should flourish. So they're making takonas in order for their business to flourish. The United States of America are enacting many laws about intellectual property, not because so much tzedek v'yosher that they're so concerned about tzedek v'yosher. They want that more inventors should invent more, and they should have the leading edge in the world on business. So they're making these laws. So if you're looking just at Dina de Malchusa, you'd start puncturing a lot of holes in Dina de Malchusa. If you're looking at that the Bnei Umnas got together and they made a deal, we're going to do something, a takona, for the Bnei Umnas, for the business to go well. That's very hard to puncture that. It's very hard to put holes in that. So that's I'm calling it Dina de Malchusa, but it's not Mamish Dina de Malchusa. Okay, so these are three things that arguments for intellectual properties. There's one more. There's a lot of poskim today that say that a person, when they sell something, can leave a shield. I retain partial ownership of this, and therefore I could tell you what to do and not to do with it. I retain partial ownership. There's a beautiful article, a long article from Reb Zalman Menachem Goldberg Zechrein Levrocha about this. It's not so posh. First of all, I have to say befedish that I'm leaving my ownership in this, and I have to say befedish what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do when I'm leaving ownership in it.
Before you said it.
Yeah. And even with everything, the shaila is, a person says, I'm leaving a shir babayis. I'm selling you the house, and a shemishpat, the simulation days, is a person says, he's mishayar mashu ba'abed abayis. I'm selling you a house. It's 4,000 square feet of space. I'm saying I'm leaving somewhere here. I'm not saying exactly where. I'm leaving 1 foot by 1 foot that belongs still to me. The Mela, I could leave conditions in the house, what you could do and how you could resell it to Chulu. But when it comes to intellectual things, even if you're going to say that your mazik is kaver, even if you're going to say, yeah, how am I leaving? It's very hard. It's very hard. But anyway, there is an argument about this. So let's go back to our Shiloh. This is not adding there's three things that poskim talk about. Is intellectual thing, mamish, something mamash is dik, that you could say gzela umazik, according to those poskim, if you're going to say they're not, that's for sure going to say that you could say when you click that I agree is considered like I left the shlichus ownership and I have the koyach to make it tonight. Then there's those that say it's not tangible, but it's still like Yored L'Tech Mnoshe Shechavede. And then you say some that say it's not even Yored L'Tech Mnoshe Shechavede, but it's Dina de Malchusa Dina. And what I would add to that is that if you want to fireproof it, say it's like Bnei Umnus that got together, made a takana. It's like out of Bnei Umnus. The United States of America is interested that we should have a leading edge in the world. There's enough good of it. China is systematically stealing.
But you saw because of Chinese government, China copies of the one order.
Because what?
They was trying to study it and stole
From Microsoft.
it. One order. That's what.
So that's the three tainas that there is. Now I want to go back to the shaila that someone asked me. So Gzeila Mazik, it's very hard to say Gzeila Mazik. You paid for the program and you're not using it. You're giving it to someone else. There's no Gzeila Mazik. To say Yodel Techem Nosa Shachaveda, why you owed it? You didn't use it. I'm sorry. Dina de Malchusa Dina. So first of all, what's the Dina de Malchusa? If I'm going to say, I'm not even sure what Dina de Malchusa is, but let's say the Dina de Malchusa says, you listen, whatever the company you click agree is agree. But I'm going to say like this. I bought it for my friend as a gift. Am I allowed to buy him a birthday present? Or is it illegal to buy birthday presents in America? Last time I checked, it was perfectly legal to buy birthday presents in America. So I clicked tak agree, but it wasn't clear to me. Am I going to use it myself? I'll give it to my chaver. Like a derech koloretz, you buy a toaster. If I'll use it, I'll use it. Not, I'll wrap it up and I'll regift it. That's minig America. You could regift something. So now I'm telling you, it was Nesgala Lamafreya that I really wanted to gift it to someone else. I could hardly see that in Dina de Malchusa that they're going to say no, you clicked I agree, and ein bereda b'divrei Torah, and we don't say glory miltza lamafrei only b'derabonon, and Dina de Malchusa is a deraisa.
The difference is that
The person's going to say I bought it for my friend. So how can you tell me that this Dina de Malchusa Dina? So the Mela, I don't see any problem. Again, I don't see Gnei V'Gzela, I don't see Masik Vul, and I even don't see Dina de Malchusa. That's if you tell me that Dina, I'm not so sure. You have to really read whatever the company says is not Dina de Malchusa. The company could say whatever. They have a right in America. You have the right as a company to say whatever you want, with limitations. You could say a lot of things that are not mamish, unless you mamish representing things b'sheker gomer. But l'maisa, Dina de Malchusa, I'm not so sure that if a person bought something and he be'emes didn't use it, that he's not allowed to regift it. Now
they try.
Right.
With what you said, if you gave it to the friend would have the same limitations you do. He couldn't give it to his friends.
Why not?
Because whether it's you using it,
Finish.
whether you're the one using it or the end user is your friends, couldn't give it to your friend and tell your friend, oh, you can bypass what the company said. The friend can.
The friend would have the same.
You would have the same rights.
The same rights.
Limitations that you do.
Yeah.
Company,
Yeah.
for one person.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, what do you think?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter who it is.
Right.
You sell something, you can't sell something, once it's out of your hand, there's no control over.
Right. That's the fourth point we're talking about. If they have the rights.
Buy someone a present. Like you cooking, you pay your own name. You would buy someone's present, not online. Their name is wait.
I
I just for somebody, I did them a favor, they switched it to New York Post. I put my name on, my email address, my credit card, and sent it to them. So, but I'm buying it's my paper, but because we delivered to him.
hear. I'm not sure. I hear. But I'm saying also you have to go back and Dina de Malchusa. if the company is not the one to decide what's din of the malchusa. The question is what's really din of the malchusa. If I bought a product and I'm bemis not using it, if I'm allowed to regift it, I'm saying it as a second sniff. If they would say that that's not din of the malchusa.
Today also a lot of websites, a lot of the founders online, so they're constantly keeping up their server. It's not good for the company. Once they own it, great, but it's constant updates that the company's pushing their software and they're reusing their system.
And you're not interested in it.
Now, what about the terms of service? Where did that fall into what categories of laid out? Or, a lot of these companies have licenses where they say you can only buy the software, for instance, you can do person to one person, and it's not transferable because they make money on each.
Right. So that's why I'm not dealing with that shaila today, because I don't have to be machriya if Reb Moshe is right or wrong. That's why I'm talking about something that I think this shaila that the person asked is l'chol is mutter, but the shaila you're asked we'll leave it for another time. I'm reserving the right to leave it the shir for another time.
You have that right. Instead of looking at the technicalities of what the thing said, but yet also looking for the fact of what the company really had in mind. Because what they really care about is the thing lose business.
Right.
By you giving it to someone else instead of having the other guy buy one himself. So even though you quit, I won't give it to somebody else. They understand, even though it's written.
I hear. Yeah. I hear. Yeah. Very good.
And also, even without all these technicalities, they're trying to talk precedence in the Talmud. But you just have to understand their way of thinking. They were very concerned about tikkun ba'olam.
Emes. The Rishon thing is taken up. I think that's why a lot of the poskim went out of their way to be medama miltz, even if it's not the perfect lumdus, because I hear what you're saying. I think I'm leaving it a little bit for another shir. That's why I think if you went to the Moshe today and you started arguing with him lumdus, he's going to say exactly what you're saying. He's going to say we needed to do something like taking oil. I hear. Someone asked me, Shaila, so they were lucky. They had a baby, and it's TIsha B is within 7 days. So, okay, there's no Shaila within 7 days. But the thing is like this. Within 7 days, as I'll say, still, there's a difference. In Siman Tov Reish Yud Ches Shulchan Aruch, if a person really has a sakana, he could be machila noisa bal korche. You don't even ask that. But a person which it's not so clear, and they're not saying tzorich ani. They're not saying I need it. The person says I need it. For example, a woman within 7 days having a baby, she says she needs it. Eat, drink. But if they don't say they need it, so you tell them, look, there's a thing of you didn't break the fast if you ate less than the sheet and less than the time. Less than the sheet and less than the time. There's a geschmacke thing that we touched upon lately, and it was a beautiful chiddush that. What's the din of TIsha B? What's the din of TIsha B? By Yom Kippur, everything is clear. So the poskim say that TIsha B and all the tzaimas are the same like Yom Kippur. Whatever is good for Yom Kippur is good for TIsha B. Why? Because call the tikkun abonon came the raisa tikkun. So Ayois, the Torah says that Lagabi Yom Kippur, what does it mean achila? It's krisevis. What is shtia is maloi lugmot. And what's the shir tziruv? Whatever it is. So the same thing is for TIsha B and the other tzaimas. However, what happens if a person makes a neder that he's gonna? Before we go further, there's a beautiful piece in the Sdei Chemet. The Sdei Chemet brings the Orach Ner. The Rebbeinu Aishitz asked the Shaila. The Rebbeinu Aishitz asked. It says Vayaver Mordechai. Mordechai made the Eden being over and Pesach. He told them to fast 3 days and 3 nights, and that was including the first day of Pesach, so they didn't keep the Seder. So, but Chazal don't say that he was Vayava Mordechai, that he didn't let them eat the matzah, didn't let them eat Sudas Yom Tov. He made them fast on Yom Tov. So the Rebbeinu Knife said, "Look, he did worse. He didn't let them eat borscht on Pesach. He didn't let them eat the kazayis of matzah. So he didn't. Right? It says Vayavar Mordechai. He didn't let them eat borscht on Pesach. He did worse. Vayavar Mordechai. He didn't let them eat a kazayis matzah. That's the shaila of Rebbeinu Knife on the Gemara and the Megillah Vayavar Mordechai. So the Orech Laner answers that that no. That when Mordechai made a takona that you have to fast, that's a takonas chazal. That's a takonas chazal. And when chazal make a takona, it's kein deraisa tikuk. So oibazoi, what's the shear of not eating on Yom Kippur? Kisevas hagasa, which is bigger than a kazais, a big fat date, which is bigger than a kazais.
That's only for the Polish, but not for the Isur.
Oh, true, but for the because the rice are chayv to eat, so it was not considered breaking the fast. So therefore, for sure, it says the Orech L'Neir that the Jews made a seder and they ate a kazayis mitzumtzum shel matzah, and they ate a kazayis mitzumtzum shel matzah, and that's less than a kaisevis. So therefore, Vayavar Mordechai meant that he told them they can't have borscht, but the kazayis matzah they ate, because the kazayis is less than a kaisevis. So I told over this word last night at the Malava Malka at my house. So first thing my wife said, hey, wait a minute. Next Pesach, when you're giving me a kazayis and matzah, I'm going to ask you to imagine that Mordechai made a tainus, and how big is that piece of matzah going to be? Right? Because I suspect you're giving me a kazayis matzah 3 times the size of a real kazayis. So
no,
the shaila of Rabbi Yonason was only because the Gemara says Vayaver that he made them not eat Sudas Yom Tov. It's mashma that he never. But why didn't the Gemara mention Vayaver that he told them not to eat a kazayis matzah? So that's why the Orech Laner is saying that he told them to eat the kazayis matzah. Another question that I was asked by the Malava Malka. Okay, but what's with the Dalit Koises? The sheet of Dalit Koises is a Malay Lugma, the minimum. And the sheet of drinking Mashke and Yom Kippur is Malay Lugma. So it's the same. So Avada, he told him not to drink the Dalit Koises. So I said, that's not a kasha. Because Hein Omru Veheim Omru, the Dalit Koises is the Rabbanah. Mordechai is the Rabbanah. So the Takona, Hein Omru Veheim Omru, same Rabbanah that said, that you have to have dalit koises. Tonight said, don't have the dalit koises. That doesn't ishkin kasha. But the Eibishter said that you have to celebrate the Yom Tov and eat a meal. The Eibishter said you have to eat kazayis matzah. So for this, the Eibishter said to eat so this Yom Tov to celebrate Take Vayavar Mordechai. He had the koyach to say to be over. But this to eat matzah, he told them eat a kazayis and make sure you eat a kazayis and not a kaisevis. Right, he could for it's not a shaila really. It's the Gemara is pointing out. But what the problem is, why didn't if the Gemara said Vayavar Mordechai said Esnesh Kamatza would have no problem. If that's what the Gemara said, I'd have no shaila. The Rebbeinu Snatch is asking, that's not what the Gemara said. The Gemara is saying, the Mordechai said the Eibishter gehaste to celebrate Yom Tov. Mordechai said don't have borscht. Say Mordechai gesagt nicht esse kein matzah. Said no. That's right. So that piece in Steichemet has a beautiful chiddush. The Shulchan Aruch says that if a person says, "I'm going to fast for a day," a tainus shel tshuva, I'm going to fast. The isur achila is bekazayis. That means if accidentally he ate a kazayis of food, he has to fast another day. So all the Meforshim ask, hey, why is the shir bekazayis? By Yom Kippur, you told me the shir is kaisevis. So the Sdei Chemet says, because the answer is simple. When the Chachamim make a tainus, What Chachamim attacking kein deraisa. Chachamim make a tainus. It's kein deraisa. And by lagabe deraisa in Kippur, what does it mean? Achila treiseves and beloy lugma. So lagabe Tisha B is the same thing. So if someone's sick and they ask you, they're not sure, but it's in a case where it's not that the doctor says they're mechuyev to eat. So you tell them to eat less the shear. What's the shear? Whatever is good for Yom Kippur is good for Tisha B. But if a person says, I'm going to fast, that you're not from one of the Chazal. You're not one of the Chazal. You made a tainus. It's like a shvur shelo yoichel. You made a shvur shelo yoichel. The shear is because I looked in the Shulchan Aruch, and what's the shear shtia? It doesn't say. The Magen says probably K'maloi Lugma. So the Shari Tshuva says, no. The Maria Malcha says that the shear is Revius. I think the Maria Malcha is onto something. If you say that I'm not the Rabbanon, I said I'm not going to fast. So it has to be K'moi Kol Shiuri Toida. Whatever the Toida said. So the Kol Toida Kula Achil is because ice, and Shti is Berevius. But lately when Gechapt Achidash in the Rambam, 2-3 weeks ago we spoke Achidash in the Rambam, that the Rambam says that when a person says that I'm not going to eat, and so drinking and eating is the same thing. So you're not allowed to eat and drink because he was Kollel, the thing in one. He says I'm just not going to drink, then it's a revius. So if a person says that any betainis, I'm a kabbalah tainis, so according to the Rambam, drinking is also a revius. I'm sorry, a kazayis, because he said it in one thing. The Rambam says if you say I'm not in bechol shurei Torah, he says if the Torah says you're not allowed to eat and mainly you're not allowed to drink, the shir is not a revius, it's a kazayis. The Rambam is a very choshev Rishon. So if a person says, I'm not going to fast, and accidentally they drank. So if they drank more than a kazayas, which is 1 ounce, the difference of a kazayas and a revius is 1 ounce and 3 ounces. If they drink more than a kazayas, they already broke their fast. Okay, someone asked me this week, they have a problem with the hot water tank. It's already the 9 days. It's Shavur Shechol TIsha B. It's not a problem to change your hot water tank. When the Shulchan Aruch says you're not allowed to build, it's a binyan shel simcha. When you need to wash your dishes, you're allowed to wash your dishes in the 9 days. You're allowed to wash your hands in the 9 days. It's not a binyan shel simcha. Look inside. Gimel. Rish Kodesh v'alatainis mematen b'maso mematen with binyan shel simcha. K'goyim mechasnas l'bnoi binyan shel tzir v'kir b'natir shel simcha. Vornik shemalachim shenoitum l'tzel l'stek tziloi. Mine adas, mine aholim, v'imay koisel noite lipol, af bishol shel simcha muta livnes, l'tzorech mitzvah akal shari. Mishnah Berurah says, v'binyan shel simcha udin kol binyan shein tzorech lo l'dirasa. Rak shoyisa ken la'avocha ba'alma osa. This is not la'avocha ba'alma. You need to change your hot water tank. It's not la'avocha ba'alma. That's a necessary, even though it's not like koisel noite lipo. And even that, it's doimet to koisel, because the Mishnah Berurah says, if your wall is about to fall, even if there's no sakona for anyone, even if there's no sakona, just because it's going to be a big hezek for you. Once the wall is going to fall, an ounce of prevention is equals a pound of cure. So if you're going to let the wall fall, then it's going to be a big job to fix it. Shanking, before it fell, you're going to sister a couple of beams, you're going to make this and that, and it's going to stand good. So you're allowed to
also be a sakana. Also somebody.
No, the Mishnah Berurah says even if you bevade not a sakona, because it's going to be a big hezek, you're allowed to do it. So
how about saving it at families?
What about smoking a contract for Hassan where it's on the whole, to make the type of contract with all.
that's not the chelik of this. Why should it be a problem?
Build.
So bottom line, I said this, I don't see any problem with changing I don't see it as a binyan shel simcha. Okay, the Rebbe shall helfen when the 9 days, and like we said, Shabbos, the tziyim b'mishpat tipoda v'shaveh b'tzedakah. That's a meaning that we're learning about the Rebbe shall helfen, that the Chazal say in the Lashon HaPosek that these days are going to turn into a Yom Tov. Like I said last week, that Haman made a big mistake because Haman didn't realize the Gewalt of Purim. So we are now, the enemies of the Yidden don't realize that that they have all kinds of thoughts and for TIsha B, but they don't realize that TIsha B is Yehovcha Yom Elok Sos and Simcha. They shall hoffen that we should see that this TIsha B is hapech.
Right.
So be l'sos and Simcha b'vis Mashiach Tzidkenu.
Amen.
Question is how about saying, okay, so.
Amen.
That's it. So, no, we have these, that's supposed to be super. I told him the same thing. You know, I give them on, like,
Don't forget tonight they have a shiur in the schedule for TIsha B. It's the table.
Yeah, we're having a scene tonight.
Let's go.
What?
that's all.